What's going on, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Duality Podcast, where our motto is living comfortably uncomfortable. My name is Ian Perez, as always, joined by Jonathan Mercado, Victor Rivera, and Chris Zora. We're four ordinary dudes with extraordinary dreams. Jonathan, take it away, dude.
Yo, what's up, everyone? And thank you for tuning into another episode where we turn our dreams into reality. We stop all the wishing and we start taking action, guys. Today's the day where you want to listen up, guys. Perk those ears up because we're going to be talking about filling out a place. And I feel like everyone at some point, or maybe right now you're in that season where you're filling out a place. But before we get into that juiciness, it's kind of my key word before we transition out. We first want to go into a new segment. It's a little bit different. These fellas don't even know what I'm about to throw at them. But I was kind of feeling something a little different. I was listening to a podcast and it was talking about the New Year resolutioners, right? Everyone feeling super motivated. You know, when does that start to come down? When does that motivation start to dip? When do you start realizing your expectation versus reality? And so I want to get a quick pulse from you guys. You know, we had this expectation before the new year. Now we put our plan in action. You know, what is the reality? Is it what you expected, or is it like complete curveball? Like, what are y'all feeling? Let me know where y'all are at with that. Are y'all still good, or is it here? Or is it here? What does that expectation look like for you guys?
Man, I think what changes is just that motivation, that thing that you're rolling with, like in the new year, you're excited, you're pumped. I think that's what dies down for me. Is just being not really depending on that high, is really like leaning back to your process or the steps. Like instead of like, oh, I feel motivated to do something, I'll go to a list. I'd be like, okay, what have I done so far in that list? In that list is an example. But so for me, it's more of like the action steps to take it instead of like, oh, I feel good about it. And then when I don't feel good about it, oh, I don't feel like doing it, or I'll do it next time. Did that answer your question?
Questions for you. Two questions.
Yeah.
Is it going as you planned?
Yeah.
It's going as you planned. And the second one, are you still with that motivation, or is it already dipped? We're 2 weeks in. Now, I'm going to say majority of the people are starting to get hit in the face. Like,
oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, a bit too much, right? Some people are starting to get hit in the face real fast. I like scratching their head. So I want to ask you, are you starting to get hit in the face a little bit that maybe you chewed off more than you could bite? Or are you like, no, you've made it to like a plan where you can actually follow through?
Yeah, actually, I took notes like on what happened last year, same time, and like what I was feeling, what I was coming across. I came too hard, like, oh, Superman busting through the door, and then not able to perform, that type of thing. But Ian's like shaking his head. I'm gonna punch you in the face right now.
I don't know what that's, but you can let me know.
But this way, my expectations were a little different. It's more of like pacing yourself. It's more like pacing myself, and instead of trying to do everything and like in a short period amount of time, right? So it's more of like, hey, this is a marathon. So I need to just like pace. So then, if I haven't hit a certain, goal, let's say, for example, or hit a milestone, hey, I'm not worried about it because, this is the marathon, right? And I simplified my goals too. Like I didn't have these bunch of things that I'm going to achieve or trying to achieve and then be let down or hard on myself because I didn't achieve them. So right now I'm on a pace, focusing on one thing. And if I hit, what was the thing you say? If you hit, aim for the stars, get the moon, you're still good. You still, so it's kind of like my approach.
All right. Well, not everybody's Victor. Victor is learning from his failures, taking notes, being on point, doing exactly what people should be doing. Hey, shout out to you, brother. Like, you really are super intentional, but not everybody's like that, right? So I want to get a good feel. It sounds like you have shit under control. It's just 2 weeks in. But
I'm not saying. Hey, I would say this. It's not saying I'm hitting like bumps in the road or anything like that. But like mindset wise, like I have to definitely reset. Right, because when things are not going right, like I have to reset my mind. I still feel frustrated and things like that. Like certain things are not going well. So like this week, like I took like L's like Monday and Tuesday. So I was like, golly, on certain things. And but it's just resetting and kind of starting over, starting over, right? Hey, you took 2 L's on Tuesday. All right, boom, let's start over. Let's get some wins here and there.
I got you, man. Ian, Chris, what's up, brother?
Well, for me, like I don't really set resolutions. So like
No, but
we
we set plans those, right?
we had the goals. We had our goals for the year.
What is a resolution? First of all, I don't know the difference between a resolution and a goal. Is it the same? What is that?
I mean, I guess they're kind of the same, but I think I don't know. When I think resolutions, I just think of like very superficial goals.
I think it's people.
Everyone just yeah. I think it's
come to
people
the point
just saying things.
Resolution, you're not really serious. But if you say I got goals, like, okay, what are your goals? But when you say resolution, I think the culture just kind of shifted that way. Unintentionally, when somebody says resolution, now that I ask you that question, I'm having to think about it. It sounds like you have goals without a plan.
Yeah, I think resolution is just like wishful thinking, like, oh, all right, I'm gonna, do this. So like, man, bam, bam, I'm excited. Let's do this. Wishful thinking. Then I sign up for a gym membership or sign for CG and never show up. which we come across all the time.
Frustration. Right?
Yeah.
Chris, what's up, brother? All right, now
as far as the goals go, though, like I haven't really been able to even attempt at the goals yet, because my goals were to just figure out this whole parenthood thing. As far as my personal goal was, I mean, I haven't had the baby yet, so that's going to be something that is going to come in time. Like
I got
very
a story.
shortly.
Yeah, go ahead.
And then the business side of the things was just we haven't closed on this house yet, and because I said like I'm gonna reevaluate everything after this deal that we've done, and then take it from that and reanalyze everything and shift our process to be more functional. Evolve
the process, the plan.
So I haven't been able to do either of those yet because it hasn't come to that time yet. So
okay, I feel you, brother. Mr. I wanted to say something cool and funny, but
Samurai Jack. You can go Samurai Jack or Mexican Samurai, something like that.
Thank you. You knew what I was thinking, Ian. Samurai Ian. Thank you so much.
You know what's weird is I haven't you normally get this hype going into the new year, but I haven't I didn't feel it. It's almost like borderline unmotivated, which is kind of dangerous, right? Because you're not going to accomplish anything. But I really haven't downshifted to kind of ramp up. I'm just kind of, I don't know if it's just the type of year that I have to where I'm just kind of just still taking, stuff in and feeling through stuff. But I haven't gotten that kick in the ass to like feel that hype. That fire really hasn't like caught. And I know it's going to come soon. I just, and it's a weird feeling. Like I always look above for an answer, and I'm not worried about it. It's not like a bad thing. It's just
like a little bit nonchalant. No, I've met people who are, when I speak to them, I'm always talking about how are you doing for the year and all that. And I've heard the same similar, answer that you gave. Where I was like, that's weird. I really didn't feel like this rise or this slow. I'm just like right here, and I don't know why. And so I feel you, brother. Like I've heard that. That's real. People are actually going through that. Maybe though that's on your environment. That's us, right? Because we can't just let, our crew or somebody in our crew just feel that way, right? We need to be able to help each other, spark each other. But I think a reason though, Ian, we haven't been hanging out. Like none of us have been hanging out for you to be involved into like, oh my gosh, like everyone's kind of moving like, I probably need to like step it up somewhere. Right. Because that's what leveling up does, right? You put yourself in an environment where you're now the lowest dude, and that feeling of being the lowest dude, you rise to the occasion, and then you start moving up to the levels and all that kind of stuff. But because of that feeling, right? Because that feeling is like, shit, everyone's moving around me. I probably should make some moves. So maybe, Ian, we're just being a little bit isolated. I think that's a lot of COVID, a lot of that stuff. There's no human connection, right? We thrive off human connection, whether we're introverts or extroverts. There's this thing about us that want to be connected to people for a specific reason. But yeah, guys, I just kind of wanted to get the pulse, a little pulse, right, to see where y'all are. That's what I want to do, a little bit of different. But hey, I want to go straight into it, guys. Mr. I want to say Ian again, but it's not Mr. Ian. It's
Chris.
actually, where do I get
Ofer.
Yeah, I don't know. Don't worry about it, man. I got you in the names.
But I'm just thinking in my head, like, what? I call everyone Mr. Ian, Mr. Vic, Mr. Chris,
Mr. Miyagi.
Mr. Miyagi. Huh. I don't know where I get that from. But Mr. Chris Zora here came up with a great topic. And I'm kind of curious why he came up with this topic. I was wondering, maybe it's just something that touches really deep in his heart and maybe he has a story to tell, but it is talking about, feeling out of place. So I'm just going to let you swing with it, man. I want to know, maybe we could just chop it up, share our experiences, share what we're going through, how we cope with feeling out of place. I just kind of wanted to, give you the mic, brother, and see what you got for us.
All right. Yeah. So I've actually had this topic since we were first starting the podcast, like when we were thinking of topics to talk about. Yeah, I was holding on to it just because I didn't know when the time was going to be right.
Were you feeling like you weren't fitting in or something?
Yeah, I think.
Well, I mean,
it's time to let it out. Let's vent.
We'll talk about that. But no, like I feel like I just wasn't ready to. I don't know, get that vulnerable, I guess. We were still very new into the topic. Into the podcast. And yeah, I don't know. I just kept holding off because I don't know, the time just didn't seem right. It was actually
we haven't went to second base with each other yet, so I understand, bro. You feel because we have not been to second base. We kind of just doing Zoom and just speaking online, right?
I was gonna say, like, when our last meeting that we had, you kind of brought up a topic that was, you kind of shared a side that kind of related to it, and so I thought, yeah, you mentioned feeling different and so on. I'll let you talk about that later, but I felt like it kind of felt like the right time at this point. But yeah, so like I just wanted to talk about more about feeling out of place, but not only that, just like how you can use that to your advantage. So for me personally, I've kind of like always felt out of place wherever I've been, like even with like sometimes even with like my closest friends growing up.
Yeah.
I still felt a little different because I was like, even like as a kid, all my friends were soccer players. I was the basketball player, but I mean, not that I couldn't fit in with anything. And I played soccer with them, and they played basketball with me, but I was always that outlier, or like, or then growing up, I was really into like,
guys.
into like the urban culture, or traditionally like what they say, like Black culture, like hip hop, R&B, like basketball, like, but like when I was in high school, like a lot of my friends are Black. I still have a lot of Black friends, but I don't talk like them. I'm a little bit, I don't speak with the same slang. I used to dress kind of wigger, but I didn't act like you're like a traditional person that would dress the way I was dressing. So I kind of felt out of place like that as well. And then like just throughout, like even within my own cultures, like my dad's from the Middle East, he's from Iraq. I don't fit in with that culture like at all, really. Like it's just I've never felt like I fit in that. Like I don't know if I feel this way because I'm kind of like multicultural. But I mean, like I feel like either I'm not white enough or I'm too white for depending where I am. I mean, and then even in this podcast, it's like there's 3 Hispanic people, 3 parents. I mean, luckily, I'll be joining you guys.
Wait, you're not. I was about to say the same thing. You're not Hispanic.
Damn.
I thought you were Hispanic, homie. Victor.
That's the reason I thought we were like four amigos.
Amigos.
Yes.
I feel cheated on, like lied to.
Yeah, we got catfish big time.
Definitely got catfish. He's not.
But I mean, but on the real though, like even that, and then also like being the one that's not really religious and comparing to the rest of you guys as well, it's like I'm always a little bit on the outside.
Yeah.
But and like even though I've had those feelings, like I've never let them
I was
like
about to ask you, how do you cope with that? Like you always felt this way. What has been your way to handle that situation?
I think I'm just strong-willed in the first place. So like I've never let those little things like eat at me. But I think when you always feel out of place, it actually allows you to get comfortable. You have to become comfortable with yourself. Like our motto is living comfortably uncomfortable. So I mean that's why like that works deep for me because I've always had to do that, even though it's not like in the same way that we kind of discuss it throughout the podcast, but I've always kind of had to get out of my comfort zone to fit in. Even though like I'll feel out of place, I can still fit in with majority of the people and majority of the groups. Um, and I think that's big with entrepreneurship too, like because you like they always say you're a different type of person if you're an entrepreneur. Like while everyone's out partying or whatever, you're grinding or whatever.
Doing both.
Yeah,
Oh,
you're doing.
okay. I thought you were gonna say, okay, my bad. Just
Or like I mean, but you hear all those things about entrepreneurs and like doing different, and like so I was thinking about it, I was like that actually kind of prepares you to be able to do something like that.
Man, it's funny that you say that, Chris. I think ultimately everybody feels out of place. I think it's all right here. It's all right here. It's all in our head. We fight. Our biggest fight every single day is in our mind. Like whether you know it or not, it's not the relationship, it's not the people around you. It's right here. Our biggest fight every single day is in our mind. And so, Chris, you talk about feeling out of place your entire life. I felt out of place all my entire life, but I cope with it differently. You say you're able to like blend in a little bit more, right? You don't let it get to you. You can kind of fit into any kind of environment. You're like a chameleon to a point, to a degree, right? You can kind of just fit in. And I've never been able to just fit in. I've like my personality is so big, even to the point where like I've recently struggled and I cope with it by talking to somebody in my corner. I don't normally like when you want to talk to somebody, you have to be sure that they have your best interest in mind. They have a different perspective. My wife is always the opposite of me, but like literally the polar end of me, right? I'm very go-getter. Empathy is like very low for me. Like I'm a driver, I'm a like ultimately I was raised to like, fuck the world, it's me, right? And Desi's like the totally opposite. She likes to see the different perspectives. She wants to understand, well, why is this happening this way? And so I speak to my wife, and even recently, I've gotten to the point where I felt really out of place in my circle. I felt out of place. Like of all the places, it was my circle that I felt out of place, and it's because of a comment. And I was like, man, and it sat deep on my chest, and it sat heavy. And then, it made me super aware of like this feeling. You got to be super aware of this feeling. You have to, dissect it, right? You just can't let it, I just can't let it just sit there. I got to figure out an answer. I got to figure out what's going on. And so then I started dissecting it, and I realized I've always felt out of place. Every situation I've never felt, except one circle, I felt like, well, I can just be me, right? Because my personality is big. I like explicit humor. My vocabulary is very colorful to the highest degree, and I don't hide it. I don't hide it from my kids. And it's weird because I'm also the self-development guy, and it's like I fight two evils all the time. And I was like, man, there's really no place for me. I play two parts, and that's just where my heart's at, because I feel comfortable. And it had got to a point where my circle, I felt super out of place, and I had to talk to Desi. And then the conversation didn't even go well, because she's all like, you need to tone it down. And it didn't sit right with me. And because my vocabulary, like my explicit humor is a problem. Like people around me have to be very wary, because they don't know what Jonathan's going to say, right? It could be super offensive. It could be like it could hurt feelings. Jonathan is just going to be very himself, very him, and raw and explicit. And it's very hard for me to understand different perspectives, and people might view it different ways. And so I think I got to a point where I said something where somebody got like a tad bit offensive, and Desi was like, hey, tone it down. And I was like, babe, I sat deep. I was trying to listen. Then I felt like I had to do the rest of my life. Everywhere I've been having to close off, play a different role, play a different role. And life is not fun when you play a different role. Life's not fun when you can't be you, which is why entrepreneurship speaks so much to me, because you can just be you. It's you. You're the boss. You're the CEO of your day. And it's like recent, like it's sit heavy for me. It was sitting pretty heavy. And then, I came across, God always has plans, or, there's always signs in the universe. I don't know how you picture. There's always signs. And so I came across a post. Maybe you guys seen it. And there's different variations of this post. And I'll use the one that's very familiar for us. We're fathers. And so his dad was trying to teach his son a lesson about your value is different on where you're going to be, where you are. And so his son had this Fast and the Furious super old school car, right? It's like the one Paul Walker drove, the Supra, right? That one. But it didn't look like that one. It wasn't shiny. It wasn't awesome. It wasn't fast. It didn't have turbo. It didn't have a wing. It didn't look super awesome. It was rusted. It wasn't washed. So it was very dirty and it was very cloudy. It just looked like an old Supra. And the father was trying to teach his son a lesson. And he said, hey, the son wants to know what the value of this car is. So his dad was like, okay, cool. It's a great opportunity to teach my son a lesson. Your value is different at different places, to be sure you surround yourself where you're valued. So he told his son, hey, take the picture of that car, post it just online, wherever. And so the kid did that, and people were offering, $1,000 for this old busted car, $2,000. And the son was going back. He's like, man, like, I didn't think it was that low. And he's like, wait a minute, son, take that same picture and post it into a car Facebook group where people know cars. And so he did that. The son posted the same kind of car, rusted, not washed, old school Supra, posted inside that, and people were offering 20, 30, 40K, $1,000 for this car. And the son was like, whoa, Dad, what's the difference? He's all like, you need to go where you're valued. So the way I took it was, I'm tired of playing two different roles. Like, I can't play two different roles no more. I'm too old to want to try to shell myself in when I can just be truly me. And so the way I handle it, Chris, I stopped playing I'm going to play two roles, and I'm going to be me. And the people who value me, who want to just be my friends because of me, rather they know who I am, the personality I have is big. I'm very audacious and crazy and wild. They will come and they will follow with me because they love me and they support me who I am. And so I came to that conclusion like recently. And that if people don't like me or have feelings about me a certain way, who dislike me, who just may have some words towards me, it's okay. They won't be in my circle long. If they love me and value me and cherish me, the right people will come into my place. And so now I'm just going to play that role. Because you know why, Chris? It's easier for me because I don't have empathy. My empathy is very low. And so maybe I just have different perspectives from you guys, but I play the role as like the right people will come. If y'all don't like me, cool, that's fine. You don't have to like me and go a different route. And so it's easier for me to go that route, Chris. And so that's kind of how I am taking it in. I just want to be myself. I want to be me.
And I can relate to that. Like, I feel like the last couple of years, I've tried to turn that corner a little bit as well, where I've been using those feelings to like realize like, I mean, I'm gonna be me. I should be able to be me no matter what. And yeah, I don't need to have everyone like me. I've never felt like everyone has to like me. When I say
did.
blending,
That was a problem.
I think when I say blending in is like more like, especially like work, like a work environment, or like you just, I mean, sometimes you don't want to, I guess for me is I didn't want to like if I don't know the person, I'm not going to show I guess that's where I'm still working on it, is I'm not going to show everyone like the full me until like I feel them out. Like I like to gauge people first because I don't want to offend people, but I also want to be myself. So I might not give like a full 100% of myself to someone until like I know how they're gonna be. So like if they don't align with something like that, or someone that I would like to hang out with, then I'm just not gonna hang out with them.
I mean, yeah, I appreciate you guys sharing all this stuff. For me, it's a little, I guess, a different perspective. For me is when I feel out of place because I can't relate to you. Like, it's not that it's not that I'm afraid what you think of me. it's more like I can't relate to you. Like I can't. I try to like I will attempt like
It's hard to speak on the same level as them, right? Like in certain topics, situations. Like there's no
and
not even a middle ground, right?
also I'm very adaptable and very open minded, so I can really talk. I think I can speak to anyone. But for me, when I feel out of place is when I can't relate to you. And so either it's your background or just your personality, or like I can't find a common ground, and that's when I feel out of place.
What do you do?
So uh
Just not hang
shoot,
around with those people?
you just feel uncomfortable. Like I would say this, like I was saying Elizabeth about our topic today, and I told her kind of where I feel out of place. Sometimes we have these friends that invite us to their parties, usually like the birthday parties of like their kids or someone in that family. They're mainly friends with, it's through my wife, but we've been knowing them for a while. So we know them, but like the environment and the party, I always feel out of place because I can't relate to them. So it's hard. Like I've tried and stuff. So, but everything's cordial. Like, you chat up a little bit. Oh, how's everything been? Stuff like that. Cause like we go like long, periods of time without, seeing them or whatnot. But it's never like a strong like bond, or can even build a relationship. Cause other than that piece, I don't see him ever again until the next year or whatever, right? 'Cause it's a birthday, right? So I'm like literally see their faces like once a year maybe, and I haven't seen them like it's COVID and everything. So for me, it's like if I don't have a relationship with you to build some sort of common ground over knowing you somehow, some way, I'm gonna feel out of place with you, either individually, in a group of people, stuff like that. And so that's how I feel out of place when I can't relate to the group and things like that.
And I feel
And
like that's
again, I
very
think
common. Yeah.
yeah, I think everyone has a shell though, right? Everyone has like they have their outer, they have different layers. So you got the layer that you, right, everyone sees or perceives of you, and then there's like another layer with that maybe your close friends, and then there's another layer where your family knows you, and there's like the deep level where it could be your wife, spouse, or someone, a brother, sister that you really have a lifelong connection with because you've gone through shit with, right? So they know you at a really deeper level. So I think we all have that circle, right? That layer, that circle of, oh, the people I work with, people over, and then that's the inner, a little more inner circle. Oh, that's my cousins or whatever. And then as we get closer, I think there's different levels to me, different levels of that relationship. I don't think everyone, and I think we all long for to have a deeper connection with a lot of people, when really in reality the expectation is that you really don't have to. It's okay to not relate to someone. That's what I like. I'm like, I'm good. I'm like, hey, I'm trying. Like I tried, I can relate to you, cool. We're just not like that. There's people where I hit it off right off the bat. Like
And
I
I'm
hit it
glad
off
you brought up
right
the
off the bat,
shells. Like I'm glad you
because
brought up the different shells.
yeah.
Sorry to interrupt.
Okay.
Because I was actually listening to like some sports radio earlier when I was driving, and Jay Glazer was on, and I guess he had just put out a book, and it gets pretty deep. It talks about depression and all that stuff. And the people that were interviewing were talking about, like, once he got off, they were talking about how, yeah, when you see Jay Glazer, like, he just seems like this big personality. He's like he's just a fun guy. Like you would never expect that side of him. But then if you're also feeling like, if he can sense something's wrong with you, he's the first person to reach out to you because he's gone through it all himself. And like but there are those different levels too. Like that there's people are going through different things throughout their life. I mean, feeling out of place is just one of them. And then, so they might not show it, but then you do have that different level where you might have with your coworkers, and then your friends, and then your family, like you mentioned. It's kind of like those Russian dolls. It just like different levels.
Yeah, and I think if I'm okay with it, I really just either accept I'm just not gonna have like that type of relationship, or with that certain group of people, right? And I just kind of like okay with it. Not say I don't give up. I still try to like, oh, let's but I think I guess I move on, but not really move on. I'm just in that mode where like, okay, you're just in that, all right, you're in that outer circle, I guess,
You're like content at being at that level with them. Like you don't need to make it a further, a deeper relationship.
Yeah, again, and that's really how I've been most of my life. And so there's a moment like in school, I think it was 7th grade, no, 8th grade. I think 8th grade. At 8th grade, I was kind of like a lone ranger. I was like friends with everyone, but not friends with anyone. Cause like 6th grade, I found my circle. Well, I would say I was like in like the smart kids type of circle. So I had all classes were like advanced or whatnot. They gave me this test in 5th grade. And I guess I did really good. And then they put me in this class with all these other smart kids. That's score high. So I was there, I made friends there, relatable and all that. 7th grade, and I moved out of that circle. They put me in different classes with, I guess I didn't do that well in 6th grade.
There's an error on your test, bro.
Yeah, I was
lazy. It was just because you're in the LA school district. That's why.
I was lazy. Yeah. I got lazy.
Anybody could pass that.
I lazy. Yeah. And then 7th grade, I guess I was like with the jam population as far as kids. So different environment. So couldn't relate or whatever a lot. So and then in 8th grade was like a combination of everything. But again, it's just I think for me was just being I was okay with it. But I'm an introvert as well. Like I'm part introvert. So for me, being alone is actually okay.
It's comforting.
Like me, silence by myself, it's like, dude, I'm straight. This is awesome,
Yeah.
So
I mean, I like you have that super awareness of being like okay, because most people will let that shit hang over them for a while, right? And then they start getting into that I'll play victim, and I can't fit in, I can't do this, and you start playing that role of like something's wrong with me, right? So for you to just be super aware of it and just be okay with it, straight. I like it. I mean, that's great to be able to cope with it that way. I think that's such a great way to do it, Victor. I mean, you're probably what's that word? Steadfast guy where you're like, yeah, it's okay.
I mean, it's not all positive, right? And like sometimes you yearn for like, man, I wish I had like this, group of people that like have that, right? And so like I hear stories of other people like, oh, I went fishing or like I went that with my buddies from like, I don't know, elementary. I'm like, dang, you've been friends with like that long, that many people, that same people that long. I can't relate to that at all. Like, I don't talk to anyone from elementary. I think I have maybe like a few people on Facebook from like middle school. Yeah. I have a lot more from high school, but I think I only talked to one person from high school, like out of
what's her name?
So her name is Shonda. I'm just kidding. No, it's actually my.
He came up with that name real quick. I don't think he's kidding.
Shonda. No, Rhonda. You remember that song?
Okay, Petey Pablo, relax.
Yeah, exactly. He knew it right away.
We do have 4 different personalities on this podcast crew, guys, and we all come from different perspectives. I do want to hear Mr. Ian's take on, how do you cope with feeling out of place? Do you feel out of place? Or maybe just experience it sometimes, because some people deal with this on the day-to-day.
No, I mean, I haven't really felt out of place in a while. Like elementary, middle school, and I get picked on because of weight and then being smart and just things like that. I think maybe because of that, I do what now?
Nothing. I'm just playing.
I think maybe because of that, I developed a keen sense on people. Like it's weird. I'm pretty introverted, but once I start having a conversation with somebody, and not really get on the personal level, but just like talk to them, like I can shoot the shit with literally everybody about almost anything.
Shoot the shitter for real.
Yeah, and I don't think it's me like really being fake. I think for me is I based off those conversations, I read people pretty well. and it's like you have to earn a spot to be part of my life to start to really get the level that Victor was talking about, like my top level where I'm cussing stuff up, making these nasty jokes, and it's not like I'm hiding it from anybody. It's just like you haven't earned that relationship with me yet to see that side of me. Because when it's like, I mean, everybody gets the same amount of respect and same conversations and time and effort from me, same empathy from me, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, no. I mean, I do wish I was a bit more extroverted, that I would be able to make more friends. But I'm like Vic, like I'm introverted. Like the amount of friends that I have now, I'm cool with, because I know you'll rock with me till my last breath. I'd rather have 4, 5, 6 really really good friends and 20 friends that I take pictures with on Instagram or take trips with.
Y'all know the crazy thing I heard about being introvert and extrovert? Y'all know what type of personality I have?
No, you're extra extrovert.
I'm not.
No,
I'm
one's really,
not.
no one's
Yeah.
really a pure
Good as
extrovert
fuck.
or a pure introvert. Like
Yeah, you're a little bit of
everyone's
both.
Sort of in a range.
I think everybody can play a little bit of both, but
Yeah.
I think we have a safe zone. I think like where we naturally are it's called natural state. If you ever done like a personality test, it tells you like your natural, and then when you're under pressure, like what do you turn into? And it does differ, right? It does differ. My natural state is introvert. I've always had a small circle. I really don't fuck with anybody. I don't mess with anybody. When I go to a big crowd, I'm like anxiety galore. I don't like big crowds. I don't like having to speak. I don't like having to go out and exert energy. That's like my big, me, I'm all about energy. And it's weird because I finally realized that, but I don't like having to exert energy now. But if you're in the circle, I can be myself. I can turn the switch on. That's who I like to be, right? I can turn the switch on. I've learned to turn it on, but like turn it on. You're going to see me in 2 different states. I'm either cold or I'm hot. It's rare where Jonathan's all like, I'm not steadfast. I'm not right here in the middle. I'm either here, I'm here. And I started to realize, why am I like that? And I forgot who it was, maybe Simon Sinek. It says introverts, if you're like just a natural state introverts, being around people takes energy from you.
Yeah.
And then if you're an extrovert, being around people gives you energy, right? And I started to realize, I was like, why do I like being alone? Self-care. Why do I like self-care, being alone so much? Is because I'm trying to get as much fucking energy as possible. So when I have to turn, my job and my service and my gift requires for me to turn on energy to give out. And I was like, man, that's why, like, it starts to make sense why I want to be so alone. I want to conserve my energy. I don't want to give my energy too much, because when I do give it, though, when I give that energy, it's at a high level. Like, I'm gonna give you all the energy. There's no holding back. You getting it all. And it was just a cool little fun fact that you could play 2 roles, but there's a reason why we naturally start to blend in a little bit more, right?
To go back to those import tuner cars that you were talking about, it's like turning on the NOS. Like you're talking about Fast and the Furious.
Yeah. Man, but yeah, I do want to say, there's this little reel I saw today. It kind of matched up a little bit what we're talking about. But if you're feeling out of place, right, you're holding on. So this professor has a cup of water. So we'll just say right here, I have a cup of water in this, and he's asking his class, how much does this weigh? And so people are throwing out some educated, like, real answers, like, hey, 8 ounce, 12 ounce, whatever the water should weigh. And he's like, no, it depends on how long, it depends on the context. It depends on how long I hold this cup. Now, if I hold it for 1 hour, it's going to be, 8 ounce. But if I hold it longer, and as time goes on, this 8 ounce cup of water now becomes heavier, my arm starts to drop. And the longer you hold on to it, the heavier it gets. And he says, if you're, for example, if you're feeling out of place, or you're in a bad spot mentally, or you're getting frustrated, or you're getting mad, feel it, understand it, dissect it. Don't hide it or tuck it away. Don't play victim too long, because once you play victim too long, that's when you start living in a dangerous zone, and you start getting into depression, and you start playing why me, and you start blaming, and you start pointing fingers. And so it's very important that we understand that us humans have all kinds of emotions. We have anger, frustration, nervous, anxiety, happiness, and we tend to get too caught up on happiness, right? I think we kind of chase this happiness as if it's a destination. Like, man, if I can just do X, Y, and Z, I'm going to be happy. If I can just get my Lamborghini and my mansion, I'm going to be happy. And we chase this one feeling that we have And if you just chase that one feeling we have, you become very empty, right? Because as humans, we need to be able to embrace, hey, us feeling sad, because without feeling sad, we want to be able to understand the pleasures in life, right? So allow yourself to feel it, understand it, dissect it, but don't hold on it too long, because that's when it gets really heavy and it starts causing issues in your life. That makes sense. It was a cool analogy.
I mean, it's very true. Like, because if you're chasing happiness, like when you think, oh, like you said, the Lambo, you get the Lambo, like you're like, okay, well, I achieved that. Well, now what's going to bring me happiness? And it's like it's a never-ending cycle. It's like putting the carrot in front of the horse, whatever. And you just keep, it's just going to keep going until, I mean, I don't even know. Like you're never going to actually really truly achieve that true happiness if you're making it about achieving a certain goal. You just need to try to like live in the moment and try to embrace all, like you mentioned, like embrace all the emotions. Exactly. That's perfect. Enjoy the journey.
Enjoy the journey with all that it comes with: happiness, sadness, nervousness, all of it.
And for those that are just listening, Jonathan just put up his mug and it said, "Enjoy the journey." So
enjoy the journey, guys. And I'm kind of upset at this mug because for left-handed people, and I'm not left-handed, and so I can't grab it by the handle because it's a left-handed handle. So now I have to grab it like this. I don't know if you noticed, I've been grabbing it like, oh, man, even though I shaved off my beard, so I'm like less of a man right now.
You look like a 16-year-old, dog.
I do look like a little child. I'm not gonna lie. And I feel it, but I'm going to embrace it. I'm going to understand it, and I'm not going to hold on to that feeling much longer. And I'm going to move forward, even if this cup. Enjoy the process, guys. Enjoy the process. Y'all got anything? I'm out.
Oh man, I think it was a good topic. So I think for those that listen, if you're feeling out of place, different ways. You got 4 different, ways that or I guess ideas or things that you can do, how to kind of move on from it or just accept it and just figure some things out for yourself. But accept yourself though, right? Be happy with who you are. Don't try to be something that you're not or to impress someone. Ultimately, you gotta find that zen and love yourself.
Yeah, and just try to turn that feeling, like don't try to not make it negative and try to turn it into a positive. Like I mentioned, like it can help you actually become a confident person or okay with yourself, being by yourself or accepting the life that you have or I lost my train of thought.
I would just say, hey, accept it, create your own lane, and eventually the right people will fall into place.
There you go.
Learned that from David Goggins. Literally, that's what he did. He sat alone because he felt out of place. And after sitting alone for so long, he realized other people felt out of place. And those other people that felt out of place now are sitting with him at the table. Thank you, David.
I like it. You know what? I'm going to give you a little Dr. Seuss to end the day. Today, you are you. That is truer than true. There's no one alive that is youer than you. Embrace yourself. Don't try and mold yourself around anybody else. As we always say, you're born great. So go and do it. Just a friendly reminder, if you're listening, we have a YouTube. If you're on YouTube, we have Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google. We appreciate you listening to every second of every minute of every podcast. So yeah, thanks for joining us today. Till next time. Peace and love.